So I've been doing a lot of these team previews behind the paywall, the podcast versions, but this one's going to be out there for free. And I think I might change it up a little bit. Might give the rest of them out for all people on the Spotify, Apple Podcast list, whatever, different ways to listen to the podcast. But this one will go out to everybody, and just kind of wanted to show off a little bit of the stuff going on and give you another feel for the team previews and just give you a little tiny bit of taste of the Marlins one, as well as showing some of the projections and other business going on. So hello, welcome to the podcast. This is just me flying solo. The podcasts do certainly go a lot better when I'm with a guest. It's hard to talk by yourself. I'm not the worst person in the world at it, but I'm not the best. It's not as weird as it was at the beginning. You kind of, if you have something to say, it works out all right. But yeah, it's just, I'm sure these aren't nearly as entertaining to listen to. And it seems to me like most people taking on the team preview content, prefer to read it. But I started this for like 10 or 11 published now, so we might as well finish with podcasts and stuff. So the web app here for paid subs, mlbdatawarehouse.streamlit.app. A lot of stuff going on over here. Because kind of want to just show some of the stuff that you get paid subscribers do. The ranks are going, and if you're just listening to this, you won't see, no matter where you are. I guess Apple Podcast doesn't show the video, but if you're on Spotify, you can show the video, and it shows this app. So as I go through team by team, if you're brand new to all this, I start like right away in October, and I start going from the worst teams to the best by last year's record, right up every fantasy relevant player. This year, I'm kind of trying to keep it inside the top 400 or 500 players for redraft. We're not talking about prospects. We're obviously doing a ton of free prospect previews, one for each team. Tim's doing that with me and Doc and others. So the prospect stuff is covered like never before, but it's not a part of this specific thing. This is kind of for redraft people. And again, I reiterate that, like the normal people aren't, it's December, right? It's December as I'm doing this. The normal people, you sane people, aren't out here around Christmas time before Christmas even hits, listening to or caring what people are saying about the 2026 Marlins for fantasy. But maybe a good stream of content and reading stuff for you all to go through February or March whenever you're starting up. Would definitely start earlier than March. It's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of words. It's 30 podcasts, 30 articles. So probably want to bang out 4 or 5 a week and make it last. But it takes me 4 full months to go through all this, doing work on it almost every day. Just little bits, kind of chipping away at it. But as the ranks go, every team I go and I insert the players into the rankings. So right now, nowhere close to finish, but you can see they're displayed here on the Streamlit app, on the web app, we'll just call it. Looks okay on your phone. I would say that if you're on the phone and you pull it up on your mobile device, and if it looks terrible, you got to go to the little top 3 dots in the top right, go to settings and make sure you're on light mode. Okay, it's called choose app theme. Make sure that's light mode, because if it's dark mode, you can't see stuff. It looks terrible, but it's easy to fix. You just hit the top 3 dots, settings, make sure it's on light mode. So you can see the ranks. They're not very useful now. They won't be useful until I finish all 30 teams, of course, and then there'll be many adjustments and stuff to do the whole way up through the last couple weeks before opening day, which we are, 97, 98 days away from now. But you can see, things are looking a little bit better. I'm not just making you look at Google Sheets all the time this year. People that have been subscribed for a few years know that all this good stuff has either been on a Tableau or a Google Sheet, which both have their restrictions. The Google Sheets are really ugly and tough to look at. There's better ways to do it and worse, but this will be the best year I've given you for presenting my stuff, and it should all work pretty well on mobile as well, as we said. So you see here, if you're seeing the screen, it's the app pulled up with the ranks, hitters and pitchers pages, but all the hitters have color for the position and the rank, position rank, and even my little one-liner. I give like a sentence or two for each guy, and it's there too. If you hover over the name, it'll give you that, or you can see a even shorter version of it on the right. for the teams previews that are published. Then there's a read full breakdown button there. You can click that; it goes right to that player's full write up. So again, it's very impressive to me, right? This was a big improvement for me, and it'll always be a little bit more. I'll always feel a little bit better about it than it is in real life, because I don't know, this doesn't look like anything special, but it works. It's good. It's a lot better than what we've had, and I feel kind of proud of developing it and stuff like that. So it's a step in the right direction. See the pictures here, ugly gray background for now, but we're gonna change that soon. But just a better way to display the ranks. There's also a export button. Is there? No export button. Okay, we'll get that added at some point. Export to Excel. Other one here, 2026 projections. We'll pull up the Marlins. This is my projection model. So again, same thing. In the past, I've given it. What just happened? In the past, I've given you the projections in a Tableau or in a Google Sheet. I may still do the Tableau when these other systems come out, because it's really cool to go to do the comparison. But I am mostly going to be doing things in this web app, this Streamlit web app from now on, because it's clearly the best. I can kind of do whatever I want with it and make it look decent. It's never going to look like the best thing in the world, but so on the projections tab, after you get the password after signing up at mlbdatawarehouse.com, you can go right to the whatever team or position, whatever, and this one does have a CSV export button for the JA projections. Well, I guess we'll call them the MLBDW projections now. And you can click the button to switch to other systems. So Steamers here now, you can compare quickly. There will be a better comparison way to kind of view them all together when all the different systems come out. So that would be, the BAT gets added to this, and ATC gets added to this, and Oopsie, right? That's a new one on Fangraphs. So I will put all that in there. And, always be using my own projections, though. It feels good not to have to rely on other people. And the first couple of years, I remember I developed my season-long projections while my third son was a baby. So that would have been exactly, just about three years ago. It would have been December 2022 when he was born. And I was doing it in December and January. I just remember I don't know why I remember this so well, but I was watching him by myself. My wife had taken the other two kids somewhere for the afternoon, so I was watching him by myself, and I was really into working on this. And I, you get interested in something and you get working on something, you can just kind of get too into it and really focus on what you're doing. And he was, he would nap and swing and be happy. So I could kind of sit there with one eye on him and kept coding away at it. This is like a few-week-old baby. It's not like you need to be doing anything with the kid. You're not neglecting them, just kind of letting them swing there and sleep, right? That's kind of the only thing that happens. I wasn't not feeding the kid or whatever. I don't even know if I was feeding him at that point anyway, with the mothers usually doing that for at least a few months, right? But I don't know, but I remember that. So I will always remember when the season-long projections came about, because the first year I coded it, I was fighting that battle. I was just getting so frustrated when he would, make me pick him up, which is pretty sad at this point. I should have just freaking put the computer away and held my newborn baby. But at the same time, it's like your third kid, and you're like, okay, you're not as enthralled with the newborn when it's the third one rather than the first or second. For me, basically, that went away after the first one. I remember we held my daughter. Maybe it's a girl thing too. My oldest is a girl, and then I have two boys. We would hold her for every nap until we couldn't anymore, right? That's all you wanted to do. You just wanted to hold her and watch her nap and sleep. And then with the second and third kids, you didn't do that at all. So parents of multiple kids certainly know exactly what I'm talking about there. You can relate to that. And if you have one kid and you're like, I'll never do that to my second. I'll never feel differently or less interested or less enthralled. I'm not saying love any less or anything like that, but if you think it'll just be exactly the same with your second and third kids, you're wrong. And then after your kids grow up, I'm sure everybody can do this in the days of smartphones, right? Go back and just start counting how many pictures you have of your first kid as a baby, and then compare that with your second and third. It's crazy. So, yeah, the app is pretty great, and we're going to continue to add on. I'm still meaning to, and I will get eventually to custom auction value calculator. You'll be able to plug in your league settings, and it'll use my projections to spit out the auction values or rankings or whatever it be. So lots more ability and customization and stuff, and just cool, helpful tools I can do with Streamlit, with these Python apps now this year, when I didn't have that in the tool bag last year, and we got it now, and things should get better and better. So it's exciting. But I'm not gonna talk about every guy in the Marlins. I want to do a little bit of teasing, right? So we'll just kind of highlight maybe one point about most of these guys. So we'll start with Agustin Ramirez, the breakout rookie catcher last year. He came up pretty early on. I think he's not a rookie. He got past. He had 537 at bats, so that was his rookie year. He actually did, right. He kind of got in the rookie of the year conversation. He kind of fell off, but for a while there, after the weird Mizurowski hype thing, and in June, July, he was like the favorite for a while, and then he fell off, got hurt, and it ended up being basically came down to Drake Baldwin and Agustin Ramirez, and then Ramirez just kind of fell off at the end, and Baldwin took it pretty easily. But Agustin Ramirez had a nice season, all things considered. 21 homers, 16 steals, and a 230 batting average. So the batting average isn't good, but for a catcher, right, 16 steals is a lot. And if you look at the projection, so this is the one point about Agustin Ramirez that we got to point out. If you're looking for one decent way to get ahead in steals is to get some from your catcher. It's not a decent way, I guess, but it is a way. Like the best way is just to draft a guy that gets 60, 70 steals, or just get 20 plus from a bunch of different dudes. But there's there's a big disparity at steals at the catcher position. There are, I don't know, there's 4 guys in my model projecting above 6. Steamer's a little bit different. They have 3 guys above 6. So Agustin Ramirez is the top steals projection catcher. That's the point, right? That's the point we're trying to get at if we're just going to be real simple about it. So Steamer has him for 11 steals. I have him also for 11 steals after 16 last year. So you might wonder what that's about, but I don't know exactly what's going on. Just the attempt rate, the projection, the regression and stuff all kind of factors in, and it does a smart thing. And I think generally, especially as a catcher, you're going to see fewer and fewer steals as the guys get older. Now, I think Agustin Ramirez, this is part of his game. He's not super fast. He's not a speedy guy, but he's always been a stolen base guy in the minors. This wasn't new. This wasn't something, and we're going to just focus on steals because that's kind of the point I want to make about Agustin Ramirez, and you can read the article for the rest of the stuff. But if we look at his stolen base history here, he had 22 in 2024, and then with his minor league time last year, he ended up with 21. So he's got back-to-back years with 20 steals. He's 24. I think by the time he's 27, 28, unless he really does move to another position, I think by the time he's in his upper 20s, if he's catching at all, I think the steals probably will go away. We see a lot of young guys having steals as a part of their game, and then it goes away. But it's year 2 for him, and you could certainly project or have some upside for another 20 steal season. I mean, 16 last year and not even a full season's worth of stuff. And I don't think he will be like slowing that down at this point in his career. Still young, still trying to make a case, still trying to get the big contract and, talk about extensions or whatever, but it's definitely still go time for him. So that's a big separator at the catcher position. Again, I've got Cal Raleigh for 11. It helps that he gets the 615 plate appearance projection that nobody else has. That alone gets you there. I mean, Raleigh and Contreras and Perez are the only ones projecting above anywhere near 600 plate appearances. So the volume alone gets you there, but it wouldn't be surprising at all to see Raleigh go to like 2 or 3 steals. Kyle Teal also, I got him for 8 steals. He can run a little bit. He did that last year in his time, so I like him. William Contreras with 8, another volume guy, right? But nobody else at the catcher position really has that as a part of their game. JT Realmuto, that's done now. He was kind of the guy for a while. So you're getting potentially 5 to 10 more steals than anybody else at the position from your catcher if you get Agustin Ramirez, and if that works out, and that's pretty valuable. So you kind of do have to consider these things um, you know, relative to position. The other thing with Ramirez is maybe the kind of the catcher strategy that I really like to take is, and it might not apply with him, find a catcher that isn't only catching. So if you have Will Smith as your catcher, great hitter, obviously, career best season last year, I believe, but he's going to sit twice a week, 1.5 times a week on average, maybe. Although it probably could, yeah, I don't know, 1.5, 1.6 benches a week. Maybe he gets in there with a pinch hitting appearance or something like that. But starts per week, you're not playing the Sunday game usually. I don't know how the Dodgers exactly have handled it, but point being that someone like Will Smith, there's no DH reps for him with Ohtani there, and he doesn't play another position. So you lose 100 at bats or something, just like right off the bat. So someone that plays another position, such as William Contreras, who catches a ton, but he'll DH when he's not. Hunter Goodman plays the outfield. Wilson Contreras last year, that doesn't apply this year, but he was moving to first base. Like, not playing catcher is a big advantage for playing time, and playing time is the best way to have a big, that's kind of rule one, right? You need the playing time before you can do anything else. I don't know. We'll have to see what the Marlins are thinking, but Agustin Ramirez is a pretty terrible defender. They need his bat. They really like him for the bat. I imagine, I think almost certainly this guy is not catching many games down the road. I don't know if that starts this year. Maybe they still keep him there at catcher. It's not like there's someone else begging for reps behind the plate, but I do think he'll play 140 games, I think, if he stays healthy, because he'll DH at least a little bit, if not exclusively. He could move to first. I don't know. So thumbs up for Agustin Ramirez. Has that special little part of his game where he could actually be probably the only one at the position that could actually flirt with 20 steals. So that's a good reason for him. Kyle Stowers now, just the key point about him to note is that, man, he put together this 288 batting average and a 25 homer season with significant missed time. He played 117 games. It was just incredible. A 912 OPS, a 544 slugging. He did all this good stuff. Again, 288 batting average with a 27.4% K rate. Really bad contact rate. I mean, he was just not missing when he was getting the bat to the ball. 108.1 EV90, 19% barrel rate, 67.5% contact rate. So the expected batting average wasn't bad at 277, and people will cite that to say, okay, he's not going to fall off because the quality of contact was so good. But I am not really one to trust quality of contact. I think this is just, it's a little bit of a red flag, right? You put up a super high expected batting average, expected WOBA. Like, we like those stats because they're not luck, right? That's kind of the appeal of the stat, is it takes away a lot of the randomness of what actually happened. Like, you're aware of it, right? You can hit a barrel and have a diving play made on it or something like that, and you can have a really well hit ball that goes for an out, or you can also have a little flare that falls into the corner and someone boots it and you end up with a triple on it, and so the box score stat looks good, but the quality of the contact wasn't good. So we think then that expected batting average, expected WOBA are like good, are high chances to repeat, and they're sticky stats. But there's randomness in everything, man. I mean, just because you really hit the ball at this really nice exit velocity and launch angle range consistently one year, it really doesn't, it gives you a chance to repeat that. There's some signal in it, but there's plenty of noise to it as well. So there's fluctuation there. And I'm just always going to be a little bit alarmed by a 67.5% contact rate and a 27.5% K rate. Now, I don't think it's right to doubt his power. 20% air pull rate, 39% ground ball rate. He was getting the ball in the air. He was hitting it very hard. I'm not saying he's fallen to a 20 homer season or anything like that, but I would bet I would bet on a pretty low batting average from the guy. And if we look at the projections for Stowers, we've got him for 21 bombs. Oh, sorry, this is Steamer. 21 homers and a 241 batting average from Steamer. Me, I have him for 23 bombs and a 258 batting average. So I'm a little bit over Steamer, because I do think my projections are better than Steamer, at least on the hitting side. Shout out to me. But 258 batting average, right? Like, when you're going to have a 27, 28, 29% K rate, it's just hard to hit. It's hard to repeat those kind of high decent batting averages. So I think regression everywhere for Stowers, but certainly a mid-20s home run bat with the power he has, and he's going to play a ton. It may be a little bit telling that he's wanted the extension and the Marlins haven't given it to him. They've rejected some of his offers apparently. I guess that's all speculation a little bit, but I would say, I think this guy might end up on my busts list, to be honest. We'll see where the ADP settles and stuff. But Jacob Marcy, probably the last real significant bat. There's a lot of guys written up in here, but we might call it quits after that. So Marcy, this is an interesting story just about the projection model because it's hard to project some guys. I've got him for 16 homers and 40 freaking steals, which is nutso. And that's after I had to calm it down a little bit. But Steamer has him for 12 homers and 33 steals. And the thing that my model, I looked at it. I looked at the nuts and bolts of the projection on Marcy, and I calmed it down a little bit, but I couldn't really change it as much. 8% barrel rate last year in the majors. It was about a little more than a third of a season. Hit 292, 20.5% K rate, 279 expected batting average, zone contact rate of 87.3%. That's very good. So a lot of contact, not a lot of strikeouts. 352 expected WOBA. I mean, a 44% ground ball rate, 40% sweet spot rate. All this like really good stuff with the bat. A 104.6 EV90. Like all this stuff looks very good. So contact and power, and not a ton of power, but. Or I said 16 home runs. That's not a high home run projection. But the other thing you see, so you're kind of looking for three things with the three things I talk most about when we're projecting like roto fantasy players, at least, or categories leagues. I think, you're looking for homers, steals, and batting average. And he pretty much clears the batting average question. I mean, maybe you can be a little skeptical about the 20% K rate in the majors because in the minors in 2024, he was at 22%. Talking about Jacob Marcy here. So minor league, 24% K rate in 2024, and then 18.9% in the minors last year. Comes to the majors and just maintains that 20.5%. Usually you'll see a K go up in the majors, and maybe it would have over 200 more plate appearances or something like that. Again, we were only talking about 55 games played for the guy, but there's reason to believe in a decent batting average, right? He's already done it. He showed a high expected batting average. Again, we already kind of talked a little bit about the pitfalls of that with Stowers, but it's a good early sign, especially with the strikeout rate being low and the zone contact being high. The other thing is with Marcy, he stole 51 bases in 2024, stole 61 total last year. So he's a steals guy. 43% attempt rate last year between minors and majors. 33% attempt rate in 2024. He's aggressive. He's not super fast, but it hasn't mattered. Again, his last three seasons, he's stolen 46, 51, and 61 bags with 16 homers, 10 homers, and 19 homers. My projection doesn't look that wrong, right? I've got, like we said, 16 homers, and there's a little bit of aging curve built in here, maybe a little bit of credit for that, 40 steals and a 258 batting average. It's not absurd. Maybe you don't think he gets on base at a 350 clip, which is what I project. That's probably the key difference there. So if he does strike out a little bit more, and if he does do a little bit less in the BABIP category, then yeah, he doesn't get on base at a 350 clip, way fewer opportunities, and those steals are, 40 is aggressive. I will certainly admit that. So take Steamer, maybe 12 homers, 33 steals. They've got him for a 232 batting average, though. Like, I think the right answer is probably somewhere in the middle. And he's not cheap. I can't say he's like a my guy right now. Maybe he will be when things end up. I mean, my model's certainly going to be one of the highest on him. But he's going in the top 200 picks. So it's not like he's being overlooked or anything like that. But I would still like to get a piece or two because, in the outfield, my projection model would be telling us to take him in the top 100, I think. Again, I'm in my head, I'm kind of backing off of that. But Jacob Marcy, pretty nice profile, very interesting player, and he's certainly one of the big MLBDW projection model guys. Did I say earlier that was kind of it for the Marlins? That's certainly not the case because we got Xavier Edwards here, but no reason to talk about Xavier Edwards. We got Otto Lopez as well. Xavier Edwards is who we know he is. no power, good batting average, super low K, good number of steals. Last year, 139 games, 282 average, 3 homers, 27 steals. Remember that 2024 season, came up, played 70 games, hit 328. We knew that wasn't going to happen again, so he lost 40 points on that, 46 points even. Hit 1 home run in that time in 70 games, but stole 31 bags. Now the attempt rate, bad news here, stolen base attempt rate for Edwards came down from 34% to 19%. And yeah, if you're hitting 3 or 4 or 5 home runs a year, you kind of want more than 27 steals, but you get a 280 batting average with it, maybe higher. So I don't want to set my team up that way. I always say this. I don't want to draft a team to where I need to take Xavier Edwards to catch up in steals in like the 8th round or whatever it is, or take Chandler Simpson. Like, just give me some steals early from a guy that can do both. Let me just keep kind of chipping away at steals rather than having to start one of these guys with 1 or 2 home runs that I'm not, I would just rather not do that. But the math can work out. There's many different ways to win a fantasy league, as we've talked about. So, but that's who Xavier Edwards is. I mean, a 0.8% barrel rate. That's who the guy is. You know what you're getting. You just have to be smart with what kind of teams you're putting him on. Otto Lopez, whatever. That's just kind of solid enough. The projection on him, he's at least has safe playing time. He's got a little bit of power. He got 12 homer projection in less than a full season's worth of plate appearances. So he'll probably outdo this 480 plate appearance projection. 12 homers, 12 steals, 260 batting average. So if we click the little 600 plate appearance projection button on the app, that will adjust all the projections to be based on 600 plate appearances, which is basically a full year. And then you can kind of look at that and see which guys, it just helps you kind of get an idea of what they can do over, if you don't want to do the math in your head about, well, he's only projecting for 300 plate appearances, but I think he can do more. This will tell you kind of the baseline. So 15 homers, 15 steals, a 260 batting average in that hypothetical 600 plate appearance season. Nothing great, but solid. Again, the 3 things. If he plays a lot, we've got him for a good 140, 150 runs plus RBIs with at least easy double-digit homers, double-digit steals, and a batting average that should be at least fine. He certainly doesn't have like a super low batting average floor, very good strikeout rate, 16% projection. So it's another thing, like, is it a deep league? Are you just looking for volume? Are you looking for a late round kind of infielder that can do a little bit of everything, help you out, but not be the sexy pick that'll take you to the promised land? That's kind of just who he is. There's a lot of those guys, but he's one of them. And we're going to stop it there. I wrote up Connor Norby as well in depth. You can go read that below the paywall if you want to do such a thing. MLB.warehouse.com. Yuri Perez, the pitcher, obviously he's the the headliner for the Marlins. I would imagine who is the opening day starter for the Marlins if things continue as they are right now. I mean, Sandy Alcantara is kind of the face. He's the big. I don't know. He's the more well-known guy. He's been around for a long time. Probably more Alcantara jerseys in the crowd than Yuri Perez. We'll see if Alcantara even hangs around. His name's been in trade rumors forever. They couldn't really do it at the deadline last year because he was pitching so bad, but he finished the year really strong, which maybe we'll look at. But Yuri Perez, clearly the best pitcher on the team. So if it's me, I'm giving him the opening day start. A lot of good pitching in this organization, though. We Tim and Doc talked about that in the prospect preview. You can go back, listen to that totally free on the podcast feed. But yeah, Yuri Perez, 154 inning projection. So he's ready. Got over the surgery, came back last year, didn't throw a ton of innings. They kind of eased him back into it. But this year should be good to start every time through, should be healthy. I'm not going to say that I think I can't say for sure if he'll maintain health or whatever, but it's a good situation he's entering the season at. He's healthy and looks really good. He kind of got it together late in the year last year. Now, the ERA projection for me is a touch high, 3.74. You would think that he could certainly do a lot better than that. I'm actually even better than Steamer. Steamer's at 3.99. So a 3.74 ERA projection. Again, projections are always going to be a lot closer to like the median, the league average stuff than what you think. So Yuri Perez absolutely has upside to be a low ERA pitcher, 2 point something. I think that's in the range. But right now, with what we've seen, K rate last year when he came back wasn't all that special. So we're taking it pretty easy on the projection. 26% K rate, 8% walk rate, 3.74 ERA, 1.14 WHIP, 168 strikeouts. That's a good projection. Again, like these numbers don't look like anything special in real life. If he gave that for the Marlins, nobody's going to be thrilled. But as the median thing, like that's pretty solid. You won't find a ton of guys with that kind of projection. So he's the leader there. Fastball slider. Just maybe the knock on him is first the team context doesn't give him as many win opportunities as other pitchers, but he's also a fly ball pitcher. 37% fly ball rate last year after returning. He had a big home run issue in his first year back in 2023. Gave up 12 homers in 20 starts last year, which wasn't as big of a problem, but a little bit lucky with a 13% home run to fly ball rate. Just a lot of fly balls. Four-seamer sliders. Those pitches get hit in the air a lot. He generated a 25% ground ball rate with the four-seamer and a 28% ground ball rate with the slider. Good pitches. They earn strikes. They get strikeouts, whiffs. They're nasty pitches. But when hitters do get to it, those kind of pitches, especially from him, have ended up in the air a lot more, which means he's at a little bit of a risk for a higher ERA if he has a higher home run allowed season. Alcantara, totally different story. Never been a guy to give up home runs. Really figured it out last year. First half, horrible, just so horrible in the first half. But in the second half, maybe even after you start paying attention, 13 starts, 3.33 ERA, 104 WHIP for Alcantara, 21% K rate, 6% walk rate, 1.1 home run per nine. He basically looked like who he was back 2022, 2023 before the big injury. So it took him 10, 12 starts to actually get back to that, but he did, and that's how he finished the year. So we got to be feeling a little bit better about it. You can forgive those slow starts to the year, certainly for someone coming off the big surgery even as an older guy. He's 30 now. So that's not to say that he's for sure back to who he was, but at least we saw him be the guy we were used to for the last 10, 12 starts of the season. His velo finished a little bit higher than it started at. He finished with a 97 mile an hour average velo on the four-seamer, 96 on the sinker, and those trends were slightly upward throughout the year. Sandy Alcantara we're talking about. Also very bad luck, so he wasn't pitching well early on. No one's going to say he was pitching well and just getting bad luck, but he was getting bad luck. His 33% of his hits were given up while runners were in scoring position. Now, he was putting runners in scoring position on way too much, sure, but a very high percentage of his hits were given up with that. Now, that's partly his fault, right? Because he is putting guys on, putting them there in the first place. You can't give up. You'll give up 0% of your hits with runners in scoring position if you never let a runner get to scoring position. But yeah, the strand rate was really it's going to regress positively, and it did in the second half. So fine to take him as a SP4, SP5 on a fantasy team this year. I think obviously depends on league size, whatever. And he's cheap. He's finally cheap. I never liked him when he was like a top 10 pick at the starting pitcher position, but now he's much cheaper than that, and I think it's fine as a guy you can feel okay about getting a good whip from. ERA will never be terrible. Good ground ball rate guy. Good stuff. Never has strikeout stuff, but that's where we're at with Alcantara. We're kind of just, if you're picking him, you're taking the discount and hoping that he's kind of back to who he was in 2022, 2023. And if he is back to that, then it'll be a steal this year. I just wouldn't be so confident about that. Wrote up Edward Cabrera. Next, 27-year-old righty, dropped 5.4 points off the walk rate last year. Incredible. I didn't think he could do that, but it was the highest drop in walk rate from 2023. I compared 2023 through 2024 with 2025. So in the 2 years prior to this year, to 2025, he had a 13.6% walk rate, total disaster. Just couldn't. That was such a big problem for him. Last year, 8.3%. So it was still about a league average walk rate, but man, I mean, that was like a miracle for him to get to a league average walk rate. So, and the numbers followed: 26 starts, 3.53 ERA, 1.23 WHIP, 26% K rate, 26% K rate. That was 13.2% swing and strike rate, and a 47.5% ground ball rate. He's always had a little bit of ground ball in him with a changeup, curveball, sinker. All of those pitches end up on the ground at a higher rate. So some reason to think that he certainly showed some upside. He was pretty great for fantasy for stretches last year. I just don't really want to buy in on all of a sudden thinking that he saw the, to bet on him being an 8% walk rate guy. Like that sounds like a bad bet to me. So my projection has him going back up to a 9% walk rate. Steamer has him going back up to a 9.5% walk rate. And that's what you get when you're at 13% for 3, 4, 5 years, 2, 3, 4, I don't know, years. And then you do 1 year at 8%, like we're just not going to buy it yet. So, but a 9% walk rate, it's fair. And I don't know, maybe it is even a little bit optimistic. So that stuff with a decent K rate, it's not an elite K rate by any means. I project 25.4%. Turns into a bad ERA 4.11. Not terrible, but nothing that really helps a fantasy team super intensely. A 1.26 WHIP, 154 strikeouts. He's too expensive. I'm going to leave him for someone else. Like if you think all of a sudden he figured out how to throw strikes and can do it again next year, then maybe there's something for that. But that's the price you're paying. You're paying as if that's definitely going to happen, and I don't think that's a good thing to do. Ryan Weathers, just real durability concerns. Left-handed pitcher with a great fastball, a pitch grade, a 105 grade on the four-seamer, and the changeup's better, 122 grade on the changeup. So the stuff is there to be dominant. It's just he's never been able to stay on the field as a starter. A lot of injuries last year. Wondering if he's not just back in the bullpen. I don't know. Maybe he's just works as a lefty. Those left-handed relievers are valuable, not nearly as valuable as a good starter, obviously, but they give him another chance this year for sure. He's just had so many injuries and a lot of velo on that fastball 97, which is great for the results, obviously, but high stress on the arm. I don't know. His 46% strike rate wasn't great last year either. Ball rate 36%. Swing strike rate was pretty good at 14%, but it was nothing like blowing the world away. It's all pretty good. And if you told me he would make 30 starts, I'd be way in on him. I really think the uniqueness, the talent of the arsenal, the pitches and stuff looks really good. It's just a question of how many innings can he throw? Can he throw 5, 6 innings at a time? ADP around 300, 320. It's kind of been moving upward in the wrong direction. High ceiling, low floor. I don't know. At ADP 300, it's not a slam dunk or anything, but you're not heavily dependent on him. And if you're in a league where you can drop him if it's not going well, that's definitely the kind of pitcher I'd like to take at 300, 310, 320, get a high upside potential arm and use the waiver wire to replace him if you have to. Robbie Snelling and Thomas White, two prospects behind, and I will leave that to the Prospects Preview podcast if you want to hear all about them from people that know that stuff better than me. Long story short, both very good prospects, both look like potentially dominant MLB starters. Snelling should be up this year if he stays healthy, and Thomas White's more of a question mark on that. But Snelling seems ready for the majors. Would take some shots on him even in redraft drafts, and he's someone who will be looking to pick up upon the call-up, but a lot more on him in a Prospect Preview pod, and that's going to be it. So tons more in this written article, but you got to be a paid subscriber to get it all, to get all the tools, projections, everything, MLBDataWarehouse.com. And that's the Marlins preview. Again, if you want me talking about all these teams, there's a bunch more podcasts in the premium feed if you become a subscriber, MLBDataWarehouse.com. I've said enough. Goodbye.